We're going to start off with creating a table in the datasheet view. This is the interesting thing about Microsoft Access. I'm going to flip over really quick. When we create things and we use the create on the menu, and here's tables, we can create a table in this datasheet view. And the datasheet view is where I can see my grid marks, like it seems like Excel. And then you also can create a table in a design view. So I'm going to go to Home, and then in this view button, it works like a toggle. So if I use the drop down arrow, see how we have these two. Now I'm going to keep flipping between the two different views to show you why people stop using Access because they get confused at the workplace and then they say, screw it, I'm just going to go use Excel. But Access really gets a bad rap on this. It only takes us a little bit of time to slow down and to understand, what's going on with it because it gives us some options of how we want to do things. So we're going to start with the data sheet view. All right. So I'm going to flip back to my ebook. The ebook does a lovely job with doing step by step in here. We're going to create the first table called the visit table. And we want to plan ahead. We don't just want to start typing in there. So we're going to kind of get to the point where we create a data dictionary, which has all these super secret things about the table called like the metadata. So we're going to learn about our field type, right? And if it's a primary key or a foreign key. But let's start with a simple way. And we're just going to design it first with our field names, okay? And then give it a purpose. So these are the fields that we want to add in. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit more in here. Whoops, going to find my green table. Where's it at in here? Oops, I missed my green table. Where is that sucker? Because it's really nice when it has these ID. Oh, this is it. Sorry, it's not green anymore. Um, When you talk about naming your fields, what are the things that you should do or shouldn't do? So a field can be up to 64 characters, but that's pretty long-winded. There are some things that you should not use. You should not use a period, an exclamation mark, right? The little accent symbol, or the dreaded square brackets. Because square brackets inside of Excel and other programs tell it that it's a field name. So you don't want to include a bracket when we use square brackets in coding. Never start a field name with a space. This I do like. Capitalize that first letter, and how we're going to learn it when we get back to chapter number 2 is that we want to put the table name in here, then underscore, and then the field name. That makes when you pull that field from all these different tables and you look at it in what we call the query, you can tell exactly what table that field came from. It's just good design. Use abbreviations that make sense. We never want to name a field 1, 2, 3, or A, B, C, because it doesn't tell you what that field is. You're going to have a lot of tables. Usually databases are not just two. I use that example that I had at my workplace, 1081. 1081. So how in the world could I make reports if I didn't understand those field names? It would just be a total disaster. All right. So access requires always to have a primary key. So when you create tables in Access, it already gives you this ID field to be the primary because it's trying to, it doesn't want to, it almost wants to be like one step ahead of you, right? To make sure, hey, you can't screw this up, so I'm going to do it for you, basically. All right. So in this one here, the first one, I'm going to go to ID, go way up on top, and then do a right click. Right click is like a shortcut to the menu, but I do love using my right click. I could get back to where I want to go in table tools in fields also. But inside in here, we have rename field. So right in there, I'm going to click on that. We're going to call this visit no space ID. That way, whoops, let me make that. And then it clicks off of it. And when I click off of it, sure enough, then it keeps it, which is odd, but it does that. Now you're kind of noticing as I click around here, I have this kind of salmon color. Used to be bright orange, now it's salmon. That's instead of an active cell in Excel, it's called the focus point. Okay. Now when I click on my visit table and then I go to table tools and go to fields, in the formatting grouping right in here, it shows the data type. Every field has to have a data type, so this way when people enter in data, it narrows down what they should. So if they need to enter a number, you set that to be a number. If they need to enter a word, you set it to one of the data types for the word on that one. Now I'm going to flip back to our ebook real quick in here, and let me turn the page. There it is. Right in here, it talks about these data types. And there's quite a few different kind of data types there is. Um, the short text, and if I scroll back up in here, the short text is a really good field to pick when you want it to contain like a number and a word, like a telephone number. A telephone number is not something that you're going to add, subtract, or times. So you don't want to put a number in there. Good option then would then be a short text on this. So we're going to head back to Access and click on this field so we have it as the focus point. We're going to go back up to the data type, and then we're going to change this one to be the short text. All right, so as I'm not going too fast and we're looking, we have short text. We have long text. Long text used to be called the memo field. You guys have had telemarketers call you before, or like when you fill out a complaint and it just gives a big long place, like a huge text box where they can just type and type and type and type with no limit on that. Um, there is a limit. Uh, what's the limit on this one? We're going to get there. I forget off the top of my head, but that's the difference between the short and the long. We have the number, large number, date and time, currency, yes, no, and then we also can do a hyperlink. There are others. This is just one of those quick drop downs to select. So we're going to click on our short text on that. There's formatting options in here. We also have a box that we can say that it's required, which normally primary keys are. And then look at this, unique. So that means an, you can't enter another record with the same visit ID. And that is awesome. Okay, time to add in a new field. Now there's a couple different ways we can do that. In the add and delete grouping, we can pick those same data types right up in here and it would pop in a new field. Or they give us this nice little spot here where it's a click to add. So you can hit a drop down and then it has more choices for other kinds of data types in here for your new field. We're going to click on the short text in here. See how field 1 is highlighted? So since it's highlighted, I can go ahead and just type. I don't have to select change name. I'm going to use my tab key, and then I'm looking at my orange so I know where I'm at. The tab key, now I can do a date and time, or I could click up in here for date and time, either way I want to go. Date and time is going to be called visit date. All right, I'm going to hit my tab key again. The next one is going to be a short text. This one is going to be called reason. All right, I'm going to hit my tab key again. I would like a yes, no. I could click on the yes, no, or just click on yes, no here. And then this one is going to be called walk in to say, is it a walk in or not? Now notice how it puts that box. That's the yes, no. All right, I'm going to hit my tab key. I'm going to go back to my visit ID, and then I'm going to click on each one of these, but focus your eyes right up in here for your data type. So visit ID, short text, patient ID, short text, visit date is a date and time, which we can change with the format. We can drop this down and say what type of date and time. Reason, short a text, and then our walk-in is a yes, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We should have 5 fields. All right, now we want to save this. So I'm going to go up to my quick access toolbar and I'm going to hit save. It needs a field table name. So this table name is going to be called visit. Hit OK. And then As I hit OK, look over on your left access pane in here and notice now this table has a name. All right. Now, there's this asterisk here, and there's actually an asterisk way down here, which is really hard to see. So an asterisk is trying to tell me this is where a new record will show up. And also, if I bring my mouse way over on top of it, I get, well, in Microsoft Excel, we called it the row selector. In Microsoft Access, we call it the record selector because I can click on it, see how I can select that whole thing. And then I just kind of click off of it, then it disappears. All right, we're going to close the visit table. And let me just scooch my view over a little bit so you can see that. All right, I'm going to close it. Okay, now this is the weird part. Access here, see how there's no grid? Means where do you want to work? 32,000 objects. I have to tell it where do I want to work in this left pane before it populates over here. And to open a table, all I do is I double click. Look at that. Now I'm in. I can start working. Table tool shows up. I can close my table. I'm still in Access. Table tools disappears. Where do I want to work? I have to click again or go up to create a new table. I know. Not so bad so far, right? All right, let's go to the next one here, which we are. Let me go back to the ebook so you can see where I'm at. Now, if you ever get lost, again, go back to the table of contents, and I'll do that with you. Back to the table of contents, and we are creating a table in the design view where we just was creating a table in the datasheet view. So I'm right there. I click on it, boom, right? I'm right over um, with a hyperlink to the ebook. Okay, so there's two different views. We have the design view and we have the datasheet view to create your tables and also to make changes in it, to modify it too. We're going to create the next table, which is called the billing table. Now, as I look down to the billing table, here now is that data dictionary a little bit more than the first one we looked at because now it's showing that data type. This is so important. It's so important to the integrity of every table to make sure people can enter what you want to, and also when you start creating reports, because if you have a field and all of a sudden you want to crunch it and you can't, it's because that data type might be incorrect. All right, so we're going to create this new table. These are those new fields that we're going to make. All right, back to Access we go. And in this time, we're going to go up to the menu, click on Create. In the grouping of tables, we're going to click on, look at this, Table Design. If you don't go too fast, Access has all these lovely hints for you. So all I do is I leave my mouse on something for just a moment, and then it tells me what's going on. I love that. All right, so we're going to click on Table Design, and then this pops up. So this way is where you can give, it's instead of doing it in the data sheet view, which is very, very quick, this is where you can put a little bit more feistiness to your table, where you can lock it down a little bit more. So the first one we're going to do is called the Invoice Num. Now I'm going to hit my tab key. Now notice the bottom part down here populated when I pick my data type. So the data type I want is the short text. Now I'm going to hit the drop down just so you can see all the other lovely things we can do. And there's quite a few of them. Now, once we select that data type, I'm just going to click over here. The bottom part populates to give us more, just more. So we can change the field size. We can change the format. So everybody has to format the same way. Now it's an odd old school way because you have to click in order for the drop down to show. Isn't that horrible? I know. Click, and then if there's a drop down, then it will show. Okay, the three little dots means a build, so I can build. Input mask, think of how do you want your phone number to appear? Do you want the 3 digits, the area code in parentheses, and then a space, and then three digits, and then a dash or a backslash? The input mask would make every record in the same characters, the same abbreviations. We can have a caption. Now, again, don't go too fast. As I click on it, did you notice over on the right side? It tells me. It tells me what we're going to do. We're going to play a lot with captions because field names sometimes aren't very user friendly. I mean, they're great for the design team, but for the everyday customer service person or data entry clerk, you need something a little bit more. So the caption would show up when we look at the actual data sheet view. All right. We can have a default value, a validation rule, meaning must begin with a W since it's a short text. If it was a number, maybe, must be greater than 10. Validation text, so you can help the end user as I click on it. You can put an error message when they don't meet that validation. Is it required? We will talk about indexes this semester too. Um, this is only the first part of limiting down. We have more. I don't want you scary on that, but I'm going to hit the property sheet and then there's more. Because again, databases start out very simple, but then you can make them really, really complex. All right, description. Now, a description is optional. We're going to start in with primary key. Okay, so this is the field we want to be now just because I said it's the primary key doesn't mean it's the primary key. I'm just describing it right now. All right, now the next one. The next one is going to be visit ID. And you're like, wait, visit ID sounds familiar. Ah, yep, that's over in another table. Okay. This one we're going to take it as a short text. I'm going to hit my tab key. This is a foreign key. Doesn't do anything. It's just helping with my labels down in there. Hit my tab. This one is invoice amount. Hit my tab key on that one. It's going to be a currency. I could use my drop down or just type in the C. It goes right to it. Look at the bottom. This changes. Why? Because the data type changed. Hit my tab key again. Next one is invoice date. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. You just go right back and you can refix that. Invoice date is going to be a date and time. Next one is going to be invoice paid. Hit my tab key. This is a yes, no box. Now, the yes, no box really changes down in here too, because there's only so many things that you can do. All right, now primary key. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we have 5 or are we supposed to have 6? I think we're supposed to have 5. We will just let me double check real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. We did that right. Okay. All right. Now, primary key and foreign key. How do we tell this one that we would like the invoice number to be the primary key? Now, this goes old school on us. Because we have like a Willy Wonka golden ticket. What? All right. So table tool design, I did click my focus point, right, is on this one. Look over here in tools, we have a button that says primary key. So as I click on it, I'm going to click down a little bit so you can see it. There's my golden ticket, my golden key. So this is designating this field to be the primary. Primary again is the must be unique, cannot be null, meaning can't be empty, cannot be repeated. So you don't have any duplicates in here. All right, let's take a look at invoice amount though. Invoice amount's a little lengthy, so I'm just going to change that one up to invoice amount, which is so easy to change. And the easy thing to change is because we don't have any records in here yet either. We do not have a name for this, so let's hit save. Now, as we do this, keep your eyes on the left side. This is going to be called billing. And I'm going to hit OK. Look what happens. Sure enough, now billing is right over here. Now, since we're currently in billing, I'm going to flip over to the other view. So now I'm in my data sheet view where we were before to create visit. But now look at this. Now I created it in the design view. Click on fields, but it still has that same field: invoice number, short text, visit ID, short text, invoice amount, currency, invoice date, date and time, invoice paid, yes, no, invoice number, unique. So as I flip back to the design view, that golden key did tell it to create it as, let me go back here, right, as unique, that it truly is the primary key. All right, I'm going to close this. Now here's another weird part. All right, double click billing, double click visit. I could stretch all those tables that I have, 32,000 objects. I can have all my objects open at the same time. So that way I can flip between them on what I want to work in. I know. So this screen feels weird. Now remember, you can't click anywhere. It's not Excel, right? You have to stay within where your records are located. I know. It feels so weird. All right, this was the first spot for us. I'm gonna head back to the ebook before we finish up and just go to the very end of our um, session one, right in here, which is closing a table and exiting. When you create access, access will automatically save things when you add new records. And we're going to talk about this in the next video. So if I make a change to the structure, all right, let me go back to access. All right, so if I go ahead and make another field, right? When I change the structure, or even like right here, I'm just going to make this width wider, and now I'm going to just close it. It's going to ask me, do you want to hit save? All right, so I'm going to hit yes on that. But when I create a new record, and we're going to get this symbol called a pencil, when the pencil disappears, I do not have to hit save. Okay, keep that in mind as we approach then the next video.